All right, so we're going to do one more round of both questions, and this time we're going to start with Craig Caruana first. Okay, so the first question on tap, another hot button issue in this area is about the Ridgewood Reservoir. This is a problem that has been going on slightly for a couple of years, in which the city government and parks has been transforming the area, and that's just going against what the community actually wants. The community board last time had a meeting in which they have all said that they are against development in the area. So we want to know, how will you go about stopping the Parks Department and the city government from transforming it? That said, you should both be aware of the fact that there is no money allocated to either of the master plans that has been proposed for the Ridgewood Reservoir. Mr. Caruana, how would you go about stopping any transformation?
So the Ridgewood Reservoir right now is a beautiful nature area, and for the most part, that's how I would like to see it. We want it to be a park accessible to people, but we don't want, endless ball fields, endless development. Too often in Queens, we feel like we live in a concrete jungle. And so a nice place like the Ridgewood Reservoir is something that we have to preserve. I think working effectively in the city council is part of the job description, and that's what I intend to do, to work with the Parks Department to find the suitable means to have much of the Ridgewood Reservoir preserved as possible. Ridgewood is changing. Something I would like to do is integrate the neighborhood of Ridgewood more. So many immigrants now coming to the United States, their first stop is Ridgewood. I want to be that first politician they meet and integrate them in the community, especially the Polish and Eastern European community. Having a place like the Ridgewood Reservoir they could go in order to appreciate nature is something I think we have to keep.
Councilmember Crowley, please.
Earlier this month, it was a beautiful day by the Ridgewood Reservoir when we had the Parks Commissioner out, as well as the Borough Commissioner, to cut the ribbon on the Ridgewood Reservoir project, which the Mayor's office spent nearly $7 million refurbishing the reservoir area, which is 3 basins for the folks here tonight who haven't visited the site, that was once used as a natural reservoir for families in Queens and Brooklyn. It was decommissioned almost 50 years ago, and the site was really left vacant, underutilized. Today it's a beautiful space to walk around and be with nature in the middle of a big city. As you mentioned, that there's been a lot of talk about a phase 2 or a phase 3. We know we have the money to complete phase 1. It's really brought up the property value in the neighborhoods around the Ridgewood Reservoir, being East New York area of Brooklyn, and Ridgewood, Queens. It is a part of Highland Park, which my colleague, Councilmember Eric Galan, represents the Highland Park area. He has nearly $5 million allocated to refurbish the ball fields in Highland Park. So to me, it doesn't make sense to do any of that type of active sporting area anywhere closer to the reservoir. The 3 basins need to be preserved. And what I would like to see there's an old building by the reservoir. I'd like to see that old building turned into an eco center, so people can go and study the bird life there, the ecology, the different plant species, as well as the trees. And it'd be a good place for kids who are in school to go take a class trip, or just your average neighborhood bird watcher to come and visit. So it's a good place to run and walk in your local community as well. And I think it needs to stay the way it is. Other than that,
your point is one more question from the panelists for this segment. The next segment will also include panelists. We can continue from there.
All right, we'll make this as quick as possible. Many residents have complained about the performance of the 311 system when making a phone call to report noise, blocked driveway, you name it. People complain about the response to the calls by the city agencies, police department, either being too slow or not coming at all. What weaknesses do you see in the system, and what would you do as a council member to change it to make 311 service work as efficiently and quickly as possible? Mr. Caruana.
Well, unfortunately, one of the problems is that a lot of these problems are lingering, and that's a job as a council member, is to make these lingering problems go away. One of the biggest complaints I get going door to door is they went to the incumbent's office and nothing happened. That's why we have a neighborhood first campaign team. That's why we have a neighborhood first campaign team. Too often, though, you don't get the response from the city agency that you deserve. Either it be a 311 call for having noisy neighbors. I went by a house that literally has black mold growing on the outside of it. That should not be tolerable in our neighborhood. That's not a 311 problem. That's a city government problem, and you need your city councilman to be out there fighting for you. Too often, too many people call 911, and they don't get a response quickly enough. Now, I'm the first one to say the 104th is understaffed, but we need to have the community have confidence when they call 911 or they file a police report. They have confidence that the police are taking their needs seriously. And when things aren't working out for a city agency, that's what I'm going to be here for, to address your concerns, so you have someone punching at the city level looking out for you.
When constituents have issues, I ask them to call our office or stop by, send us an email before they call 311. We've had a lot of complaints about a system that is not reliable, but a 311 number helps for a council member to get on an agency to make sure that they have a job ticket in place to do the work that is necessary to help that constituent with whatever problem it is they have. It could be tree, it could be traffic. It could be, a Department of Buildings problem as well. My opponent asserted a failure in the 911 system. There's nobody who's led the charge to fix the 911 system more than I have on the City Council. I have pushed the administration to make serious changes. I have a plan to fix the system, but I've been able to get the administration to make it safer. We need to make sure when anybody calls 911 that help is on the way. And with my plan of hiring more operators, fixing the computer glitches, and making sure that there's no unified call-taking system, which means that we have fire dispatchers in place, we have EMS dispatchers in place, and not just 911 operators that aren't trained on fire or medical emergency. So it's a serious problem, and I have proven results. And there's still more work to do. The mayor's wasted nearly $2 billion on a system that today is no more reliable than when he started fixing it 10 years ago.
Thank you, candidates and panel. That concludes round one. In round two, which will last approximately 25 minutes, each panelist will ask 2 questions to one specific candidate. The panel will ask a total of 6 questions during this round. The candidates will have 3 minutes to answer. There will be a 2-minute optional rebuttal period if the candidates would like to rebut.
1 minute rebuttal.
In an effort to move things along, we're going to cut the rebuttal period to 1 minute. And ladies and gentlemen, just for your information, the last question, we're looking to have it no later than 9 o'clock. So if you're planning the rest of your evening, it looks like 9 o'clock will be the last question.
Okay. This is a question for Councilmember Crowley. In May 2011, I personally attended a rally at the St. Saviour site at which you stated, "There is nothing I want more than to have a park at this site. The reality is with the upcoming budget, we can have the $5 million in place that the city is willing to spend, and that's not a worry. I feel more optimistic than I've ever been about this location becoming a park. You may ask why I feel optimistic. Because the deputy mayor met with the owner, Maspeth Development, and said, the mayor wants this to become a park. The council member wants this to become a park. By the end of 2011, you had given up on the St. Saviour site, but said that Martin Luther High School was willing to sell part of their property to the city for a park. Why were you not able to successfully negotiate a deal to obtain either of the 2 sites? Were you able to protect the money that was raised by elected officials to purchase the parkland and reconstruct the St. Saviour's Church building? And considering that Maspeth has already outgrown its current 12 acres of parkland, where are you planning to create more open space?
Thank you for that question, Paul, and what you said is true. I wanted nothing more for that site, the St. Saviour site, to become a park. I worked very hard, and I was able to get money from the city government, and that money is still protected in the budget, and it was the money from my budget as a council member and the borough president, the majority of which was my funding. And while we could have put $5 million together to purchase that site and make it a park, the seller was not willing to take anything less than $8 million. The city had the property evaluated, and the market value was $5 million. We're not legally allowed to pay more for a property than what it is worth. And that's why we couldn't purchase St. Saviour's. There was a time when Martin Luther wanted to sell their property, but then their school enrollment numbers grew, and then they said, we don't want to sell the property. But they did tell the public yes. And I was upset that that wasn't able to happen. But if you look around this district, just visit Juniper Park, or Forest Park, Evergreen Park. I brought back a significant amount of money to renovate our current parks, and my commitment for future green space is real.
Mr. Carolina, would you like to rebut?
Look, at the end of the day, as I said in my opening, these are the excuses that won't cut it when I'm an elected council member. Everyone supposedly wanted a park. Everyone supposedly wanted a park, and the incumbent dropped the ball. The money was there. Where's the money now? The money was there. Supposedly, the money is still there. Then why does the Maspeth have a park? According to the Parks Department own formula, Maspeth should have 88 acres of parkland. It only has 10. We should have used the money to get a park, but unfortunately, the incumbent dropped the ball.
This question is for candidate Caruana. For much of the campaign, you've been talking about bringing additional funding to the district. And if elected, you would be one of a few Republicans in the city council in a legislature that's dominated by Democrats, in a city that's dominated by Democrats by something of 6 to 7 to 1 ratio per registered voter. And given those political obstacles, what specifically would you do to be able to convince your peers to fund projects in this district?
I'm not running because I'm a Republican and I want to introduce a Republican ideology into my district. I'm running to put our neighborhood needs first. That's why I'm running for office. Part of the job as council member is to work with your colleagues and bring back results for your neighborhood. That's what other council members have successfully done who are Republicans, like Council Member Eric Ulrich. That's what I intend to do as your councilman. When I'm in there, I'm not looking to push bills that my residents and the constituents don't want. That's not the job. My job is to be the employee of the people. That's how I'm going to act. That's how I'm going to act in the council. And I do not expect the mayor and the speaker and the other council members to look down on me just because I have an R next to my name. We're all looking out for the same interests. We all want to improve the city. We all want to increase our quality of life. That's what I'm looking to do in the council.
Councilmember,
I would assert my opponent should look around the district and see the renaissance of building that has happened since I've been a council member. We've built 4 new schools and 2 library buildings, creating over 5,000 classroom seats. We've spent a significant amount of money renovating our parks and our libraries. I'm not sure how he is proposing to get more funding, but he said something about working with the colleagues, or I don't know if he's alluding to something that he may be saying about me. I know in prior candidate forums, he said that he would get along with the next speaker better. And I'm not sure if he was talking or you were talking about discretionary funds or the overall budget. But if you look at the overall budget and the amount of capital funds that is spent in this district, no other previous council member has brought back as much in resources.
The council member has absolutely nothing to do with the capital budget. The last capital budget for education was
Please, we'd like to move on by passing the microphone over to Liam from the Queens Coverage.
Yeah, Just briefly, rebuttals mean one person rebutting the other, not a rebuttal to the rebuttal.
All right, so I'm really happy you brought up schools in that last rebuttal, council member, because my question is about schools, and which happens to be one of your main platforms in education. Over your time as an elected, we've noticed there's a problem with the overcrowding in schools in this area. Now, this problem has been there before your time as well, but it has continued to increase. I'll just read you an example. Mass-Beth Elementary, which is PS 153, has a capacity limit of 1,217 and currently enrolls 1,450 students. So that's way over 250 more students than necessary. The question is to you, how, if you're reelected, will you fix the overcrowding problem in your district?
Thank you, Leah. Nobody cares more about public schools than I do in this community. I have two sons who attend our local public schools. For PS 153, help is on the way. There's PS 290 that'll be built in September, will be complete, and that's one of the 4 new schools in the district that is alleviating the overcrowding. We've built over 5,000 new classroom seats. Not only have we brought back so much in school resources, I've invested through discretionary allocations over $11 million into our local public schools so that our kids could have new technology, computers, will help them get 21st century jobs. We have 2 brand new high schools. We've never had new high schools for like almost 80 years in this community. So as it relates to public education, I could say, compared to 5 years ago, kids in the 30th Council District have a much better shot. And give me another 4 years, and we're going to improve their chances for getting a well-rounded education. Thank you.
The school expansions and the constructions of the new schools have absolutely nothing to do with the council member. They're the work of the Community Education Council of 24 that's been doing work for years. The last five-year plan for the Department of Education was voted on in June of 2009, just after a council member took office. The work that went into that and to alleviate overcrowding goes back to Tom Ogdenbenny. It goes back years. The idea, my opponent's own spokesperson had to refute the fact that she took credit for building Massive High School when it was under construction before she was even in office. This is the reason we get discretionary funding cut. This is the reason our discretionary funding cut is because my opponent takes credit for things that other people worked on, and as a result, our constituents suffer. Public schools. We have parochial and charter schools in this area too, and I'll be in support of them as well.